There had not yet been a sunrise. But even then, there was light.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Erie, and I am getting ready to go there and back again to Middle-earth with the Rings of Power series. So in this video, we are going to go over everything you need to know before seeing this new series, just in case you haven't read this. Look, the Silmarillion. So before Bilbo outriddled Gollum and before Frodo fell in with a burning ring of fire, there were the Harfoots.
You hurt your foot?
No, alright, never mind. There's three different powerful races in Middle-earth: humans, elves, and dwarves. And Sauron, the Dark Lord, made these magic rings for all of them. But in secret, he formed one ring that would control all of the others. This is the One Ring, making him Lord of the Rings.
He said it! He said it!
So this One Ring gave him power over the 9 kings of men and the dwarves, but the elves managed to resist their power because, like, elves are lovely and good. So Galadriel still has her Ring of Power when the Lord of the Rings starts. Now, most fans of the movies will remember that the Second Age of Middle-earth ended when the king's son Isildur cut the evil ring from Sauron's finger, but he lacked the conviction to destroy it in Mount Doom.
Destroy it!
And later he was killed, the ring came to Gollum, from Gollum to Bilbo, etc. But now let's talk about this new series, which has a huge budget, reportedly $60 million per episode, twice that of Stranger Things Season 4. Alright, so I'm going to tell you everything you need to know before heading to
The Shire?
Nope, there is no Shire yet.
What?
I know, well, let's dive in and all will be revealed. Rings of Power takes place during the Second Age of Middle-earth. It's sandwiched in the middle between the Silmarillion, which mostly covers the First Age, and the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, which takes place in the Third Age. J.R.R Tolkein only briefly touched on the Second Age in the appendices found at the end of Return of the King. However, J.R.'s son Christopher Tolkien would go on to expand his father's unpublished manuscripts about the Second Age in the book Shaping Middle-earth. If reading's your thing, then there's also a new book coming out titled The Fall of Númenor. Oh, you think that's amazing? The book is also going to be illustrated by Alan Lee, who won an Oscar for his contributions to the art direction for the Lord of the Rings films.
Most impressive.
Now, what we do know is that the Second Age begins after the final overthrow of Morgoth by the Valar in the War of the Wrath.
What's a Morgoth?
That's a good question. So Morgoth was like the original bad guy in Middle-earth. Think of him as Darkseid to Sauron's Steppenwolf. Sauron was actually a servant of Morgoth, and the Valar were kind of like angels, making Morgoth a fallen angel like Lucifer. So Morgoth was way more powerful than Sauron. Sauron was actually one of the Maya. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. And these were the beings who became wizards in Middle-earth, like Gandalf.
Yeah, maybe we skip all that and just stick with what we need to know for the show.
That's a good idea, and I'm pretty sure Galadriel's gonna like sum all that up in a monologue at the beginning of the series.
Oh, thank God.
So we are talking about the Second Age of Middle-earth, which is roughly 3,441 years long. But the Amazon 5-season show will condense this timeline in order to highlight the major points.
What are the major points?
Well, hey, there's a Galadriel monologue for that too.
It began with the forging of the Great Rings.
So this will be the focus of this show's narrative, the rise of Sauron with the forging of the Great Rings and his seduction of the powerful human race of Númenor.
What's Númenor?
Okay, well, you've heard Númenor referenced several times in the Lord of the Rings movies when referencing Aragorn, most of the time to his face.
A descendant of Númenor, blessed with long life.
The heir of Númenor still lives.
Númenor is this island off the coast of Middle-earth that's shaped like a star and is super advanced. It's the site of the greatest of all human kingdoms. The show is also going to show us the creation of the ring wraiths from Lord of the Rings. The early wars between Sauron and the elves will begin, and of course the One Ring will be made during this time.
One ring to rule them all.
Now, Galadriel's opening monologue also told us when the Second Age ends and the Third Age begins. There's a giant battle where the forces of men and elves gang up against Sauron, and then a prince named Isildur takes his father's sword Narsil and cuts the One Ring from Sauron's middle finger, destroying Sauron's physical form, and thus the Third Age has begun. Now, it's safe to bet we're not going to see any of this in this show unless it's like the very last sequence, but it was already done pretty perfectly by Peter Jackson, and
Why mess with perfection?
But will the show show us any familiar characters?
oh yeah, plenty. But most of the cast is new, with a mix of canon and non-canon characters. And the cast is also massive, clocking in at 22 series regulars.
That's a lot.
That's a Game of Thrones a lot. For the sake of the length of this video though, I'm only going to focus on who has been announced as key players and where in Middle-earth they dwell. So Tolkien was always helpful to the reader by creating maps of the different ages to give us a setup. At first glance, the Second Age map looks nothing like the iconic one that we know and love today. There's no Shire, no Mordor, Gondor, nothing. But hey, those misty mountains are there, proof that we are looking at Middle-earth. So this island on the bottom left is Númenor, the land of Aragorn's kin and one of the major locations for the show. The Númenorians inhabiting this isle enjoy long lives, 3 times the lifespans of men, because they are descendants of the elves. Númenor's regent is currently Queen Miriel, a new character who has a deep love for her homeland but is also sensing that all is not well. Young Isildur resides here as well, not a king of Gondor yet, but a sailor with a serious Moana complex.
The line where the sky meets the sea, it calls me.
Aw, you can almost forget that he's going to grow up and fail to purge evil from this world. Now, the first king of Númenor was Elros, Elrond's twin brother. And Elros was an elf who chose to live as a mortal, so he has passed away by the start of this show. Sound familiar?
I choose a mortal life.
Yes, it turns out that losing his daughter to a mortal realm was not the first time Elrond dealt with this dilemma. His own twin brother chose the same fate and then spawned a new race of men in the process.
So wait, does that mean that Arwen and Aragorn are related?
Very distantly, but this isn't like Lannister territory. Elrond is not yet the Lord of Rivendell. Instead, he's an ambitious young politician of half-elven heritage. His father, Arundel, is a mythical figure who helped save Middle-earth from evil. So Elrond is now searching for his place and purpose in the regal elven realm of Lindon. Lindon's ruler is Gil-galad, who is famously mentioned in a song that Sam sings in Lord of the Rings.
Gil-galad was an elven king, of him the harper sadly sing.
He has the gift of foresight and, like Miriel, can feel the pulse of darkness rising across the land. Now, Eregion is just northeast of Lindon, and it's the realm of the Noldorian elves. That's Galadriel's race. When the series starts, Galadriel is the polar opposite of the graceful ruler of Lothlorien that we meet in Fellowship of the Ring.
In place of a dark lord, you would have a queen! Not dark, but beautiful and terrible as the dawn!
Alright, well, mostly graceful. Now, her destiny of being gifted the Ring Ninja, the Ring of Water, is something that I am looking forward to seeing on screen. It's unclear if this will happen in the first season. For now, Galadriel is a warrior who is not ready to put down her sword. She fought against Morgoth and lost her brother in the process. Morgoth's apprentice, Sauron, has vanished, so she is hunting down the last remnants of their collaborators. Galadriel will travel with a human castaway called Halbrand from the Sundering Seas, and the two of them will travel to the island of Númenor for a mission that is yet to be revealed. So Eregion is a rare elven kingdom because their relations with the dwarves at Khazad-dûm are actually quite cordial. And there's a famous elf who was behind the forging of the Rings of Power, Celebrimbor, who resides in this kingdom and is very friendly with his dwarf neighbors. Fun fact, he's also the descendant of the First Age craftsman Fëanor, who forged the 3 Silmarils. And those 3 Silmarils were jewels that eventually became the 3 elven rings.
Wait, Khazad-dûm?
Yeah, remember the Fellowship of the Ring? The Mines of Moria? The Balrog? That's here, in all its glory.
Soon, Master Elf, you will enjoy the fabled hospitality of the dwarves. Roaring fires, malt beer, red meat off the bone.
This time, you won't find goblins or cave trolls, but we will most likely see plenty of mithril. Prince Durin IV and his wife Disa live here during the height of the dwarves' prosperity, and I'm betting that he is destined to become a ring bearer. Other alliances are being formed in the Southlands. A new elf soldier, Arondir, helps keep watch over the humans that live there. Humans who, in the past, had aligned themselves with Sauron. He strikes up a special and forbidden relationship with a new human character, Bronwyn. What could possibly go wrong?
I have a really bad feeling about this.
So if this is about the rise of Sauron, is he still just going to be an eye?
No, he's not just going to be an eye, but the creators of the show are keeping it really close to their chest on just what and who Sauron is going to look like. If we go by what's already known, Sauron will eventually manifest into the guise of an elf called Anatar, who will teach the elfsmiths, led by Celebrimbor, how to craft the Rings of Power. Only time will tell when that will happen, but it's gonna happen, obviously.
Oh, what about the wizards?
Nope, wizards were not sent to Middle-earth until 1,000 years into the Third Age. No Gandalf, no Saruman, no Radagast, and none of those other two. Sorry, gang.
Well, what about hobbits? You gotta have hobbits.
Well, you'll see Harfoots, which are one of the 3 descendants of breeds of the hobbits, along with the Stores and the Followhides. Harfoots means one with hairy feet, and they're more nomadic in the series rather than the homebody Shire dwellers.
If I take one more step, it'll be the farthest away from home I've ever been.
A new Harfoot character, Sadok Burrows, travels with the nomadic tribe of Harfoots across Middle-earth, keeping a low profile and hiding from the big folk. While most nomadic Harfoots leave an under-the-radar existence, Nori Brandyfoot, another Harfoot, has a Baggins-like "I'm going on an adventure" essence. Nori and her closest friend Poppy Proudfellow are set to discover a mysterious man who seems to have fallen from the sky in a flaming meteor.
Oh, so that must be Sauron.
Probably not, Doug, but I will admit that the trailer sure wants you to think so with that burning ring of fire. A lot of people have wondered if Peter Jackson is involved in this show. After all, it was shot in New Zealand. But sadly, he is not involved. Jackson stated in an episode of the Business Podcast that Amazon first approached him about this 4 or 5 years ago to see if he'd be interested in collaborating on the series. Jackson told the podcast,
"Have you got scripts yet? Because I just know how hard the scripts were to write when we did the films, and I didn't know the people writing these scripts. And they said, oh no, we haven't got the scripts, but as soon as we do, we'll send you the scripts." And then so I was waiting for the scripts to arrive, and they never did.
While this is a shame, Jackson has stated there are no hard feelings, and he looks forward to watching the series as a perfectly neutral viewer. Me too, Peter. Me too. Now, we could theorize and debate based on the information that we have already, but let's leave a little bit of mystery in the air. Are you counting down the days like I am till the series arrives on September 2nd? Do you think that Sauron's in the Ring of Fire? Will the Rings of Power get forged in the first season? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below, or you can @ me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash the bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.